Okay, so now let's complete part A, and what we're going to do is look at the actual marginal rate on this additional $40,000 of income. Now, conceptually, what we're looking at is what's the rate of tax for the additional $40,000. Now let's kind of let's do the math, and then we'll kind of on the far end discuss what we mean by what's the rate on the additional $40,000. Okay, because it's important to understand kind of conceptually what is being computed here and why this rate is important to understand and why it's a value. Now the formula is for the marginal tax rate is this. It's going to be the change in tax over the change in taxable income. So these are components that we just computed in the earlier videos. I have the taxable income already laid out down here, okay? It was $75,000 in the base case, meaning the starting facts, and then it increased by $40,000 to $115,000. We just computed the rate or the tax. That's what we did in the previous two videos. I'm going to write those in here, $12,290, and then it was, I believe, $14,000, and let me just confirm. It was $21,679. My apologies, $21,679. Now, you know, part of the reason why I'm kind of flipping back and forth is you're going to have to do this too. Okay, pause the video if you need to. Make sure this number is right. Go back to the previous work you did, and what you need to do is you need to plug in the work you've already done into this so that we can compute, because we've done all the pieces at this point. There's one final math problem we need to do to get to the marginal rate, the resulting rate, and then we can kind of take a step back and analyze what's happening. So the formula again is change in tax over the change in taxable income. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Again, we're going to break out our calculator, do one final calculation. I want to do 21,679 minus 12,290. So A, and this is B. A minus B equals 21,679 minus 12,290 is 9,389. A minus B. Okay, that's the change in tax. So that's this piece here. Now let's look at the change in taxable income. Well, we know that. We know it's 40,000, right? And if you don't know that off the bat, that's fine. Okay, but that's the change in taxable income. It's basically this over here, right? So now, what is 9,389 divided by 40,000? That's going to be our marginal rate here. So let's compute that. 9,389 divided by 40,000. Whoop, I miskeyed my calculator. 23.47%. I'm going to write that down. Let me take a step to the side here. 23.47% is the answer here for part A. Now, let's think about what's happening here. We can compute and get to a final quantitative answer, but what we need to do is take a step back and critically analyze. If you notice, Chuck is currently in a 24% bracket, okay? The additional $40,000 of income pushed him into this bracket, which has a 24% marginal rate. I realize we're using the word marginal in a few contexts, in two different contexts here, but just bear with me. That's the rate inside this bracket. Now, if you notice, the marginal rate on the income is not quite 24%. Let's look at why that is. He started out in this bracket, and he's pretty close to the top, okay? He wasn't quite at 85,525, but he was pretty close. He was at $75,000. Then we pushed his income up by 40,000, which means he had about $10,000 of more income that was taxed at 22%, and then he had an additional about $30,000 taxed at the 24%. So a slice of this $40,000 of income is being taxed, a small slice at 22%. A larger slice is being taxed at 24%. And this 23.4% is reflecting the sort of income mix and the rate mix that's happening. So I should really say the rate mix. So the fact that he's got some of a bit of it taxed at 22%, but more of it taxed at 24%. Now, this all takes practice, okay? It takes a little bit of practice. What I want to encourage you to do is step through the math, okay? And the key skill here is getting anchored in the schedule. Understanding concepts like the fact that as income goes up, the rate goes up, okay? Understanding that taxpayers can move in between brackets depending on if they make more or less income, depending on, as we'll see in Part B, if they use deductions, okay? We're going to be looking throughout the course at taxpayers who are going to be, who will see their income go up and down and deductions go up and down. We're going to see lots of reasons why income can be impacted on the tax schedule, okay? If you can get to the 23.4%, that's great. And what we'll do is in Part B, we'll look at a $40,000 deductions and the impact, and we'll walk through a similar exercise, okay? We are also going to step through this in Excel in a simpler format than what we did in class. Stay tuned for that.